The crew on set was confused. They just wrapped a rooftop scene from Yibo's upcoming crime drama when the star, known for his precision and professionalism, simply walked off set without a word. "Did he go to change?" asked a production assistant. "No, he didn't tell anyone," said Xiao Li, one of Yibo's longtime bodyguards. "I turned my head for 1 second and he was gone." Panic ensued. Calls were made. The producer even thought he'd been kidnapped. But Wang Yibo wasn't kidnapped. He was walking, fast, through the chaotic streets of Chengdu's oldest district, dressed in plain black jeans and a gray hoodie, sunglasses barely shielding his identity. He had a mission. Only hours before, Yibo had received a direct message on WeChat from a name he hadn't seen in over a decade, Chen Shuheo. Back in Luoyang, they had shared more than just childhood pranks and school lunches. Shuheo was the one who taught Yibo to ride his first BMX. The one who pushed him to chase dance. The friend who stood up to bullies when Yibo was too shy to speak. But life had not been kind to Shuheo. While Yibo rose to fame, Shuheo's family had been destroyed by debt and illness. He dropped out of high school to care for his younger sister. And after a string of unfortunate events, he found himself jobless, homeless, and sleeping under a bridge in Chengdu. "Bro," the message read, "I didn't want to reach out, but I'm at the end. You don't owe me anything. Just needed someone to talk to." That was enough for Yibo. He changed into streetwear, slipped through the back exit of the studio, and walked into the maze of Chengdu's forgotten alleys. By the time he found Shuheo, the city was preparing for rain. Yibo scanned the sleeping forms scattered beneath the bridge until he saw him, a gaunt figure huddled in an oversized coat, worn sneakers with holes, and hair that hadn't seen shampoo in months. "Shuheo," Yibo said quietly. The man looked up, disoriented. Then, realization dawned in his eyes. "No way." Yibo dropped to a crouch and pulled his friend into a hug that stunned the few onlookers awake. "I'm here now," he said. "Let's get you out of here." Instead of calling a driver, Yibo insisted on walking. He wrapped his own jacket around Shuheo and they navigated through the labyrinth of Chengdu's wet streets. On the way, they stopped at a 24-hour diner, where Yibo ordered 3 steaming bowls of beef noodles. The owner recognized him instantly and froze mid-motion, noodles still dangling from his ladle. "Why, you're Wang Yibo." Yibo simply placed a finger to his lips and nodded toward Shuheo. "Tonight, I'm just a friend." He paid in cash, left a huge tip, and insisted they sit outside, on the curb, under the flickering street lamp, just like they used to in Luoyang after BMX practice. There, Shuheo opened up. He shared everything, the failed jobs, his sister's health struggles, the loneliness. Yibo didn't interrupt. He just listened, his eyes glossy with emotion. Then, out of nowhere, Yibo stood and said, "Come with me. Right now. No arguments." Few know this, but tucked away in Chengdu's outskirts is a small, quiet villa, Yibo's secret sanctuary. Not a flashy mansion, but a modest 2-story home surrounded by bamboo and silence. He drove them there himself in an old, unbranded SUV that fans had never seen before. Shuheo looked around, stunned. "Is this yours?" "It's yours now too, if you want it," Yibo replied. That night, he drew a hot bath for Shuheo, found him clean clothes, and even handed over his own hoodie, the same one he'd worn during his last fan meet. And when Shuheo finally broke down and cried, Yibo sat beside him, hand on his back, whispering, "You were there when I had nothing. Let me be here for you now." Unbeknownst to them, a local food vendor had captured a blurry video of Yibo kneeling to help a man under the bridge. It exploded online within hours. Hashtags like #WangYiboRescue and #RealHeroYibo trended on Weibo, sending fans and reporters into a frenzy. But Yibo refused to speak publicly. It wasn't until days later, when fans saw Shuheo, now clean, smiling, and working at a local community bike shop, that they connected the dots. A fan posted a photo. That's the same guy Yibo was seen with. And now, he's thriving. Soon, word got out that Shuheo had been quietly given a job through one of Yibo's charity foundations, and Yibo had paid for his sister's surgery in full, without a shred of publicity. When Yibo returned to set, the crew had 1,000 questions. He just smiled and said, "Sometimes the heart needs a detour." One assistant later revealed that during lunch breaks, Iba now spent time on calls with shelters and job placement organizations. He doesn't want another friend to go through what Shuhei did. Fans began organizing donation drives in Shuhei's name. Communities in Chengdu painted murals under the very bridge where Iba found him, one even depicting a hooded figure pulling another man into the light. Weeks later, during a backstage interview, a journalist hesitantly asked, "Do you believe in fate, Iba?" He paused for a long time before answering, "I believe people come into your life for a reason. And sometimes, when they disappear, it's our job to bring them back." With that, he stood, adjusted the same hoodie he had lent to Shuhei, now framed behind glass in his sanctuary home, and walked off stage. And while the world continues to see Wang Yibo as a singer, actor, dancer, racer, and fashion icon, those who know this story understand one truth. He's also a lifeline. A quiet hero. And for one friend lost beneath a bridge, came harder that became night. The sun. It wasn't the gentle drizzle that softened Chengdu's skyline. It was the kind that slammed into rooftops like the sky was trying to scream. Thunder cracked over the city. Underneath it all, two silhouettes, one soaked in fame, the other in shame, walked shoulder to shoulder through the city that forgot one of them. "Why didn't you tell me earlier?" Iba finally asked, voice almost drowned by the rain. Shuhei smiled bitterly. "Because I knew you'd come. And I didn't want you to see me like this." Iba stopped walking, gripped Shuhei's shoulder, looked straight into his sunken eyes. "Like what? You think a little rain and dirt can erase who you are to me?" For a second, Shuhei's tough exterior cracked. Then Iba did something no one expected. He dropped to one knee in the middle of the flooded street and began tying the broken lace on Shuhei's tattered shoe. Cars honked, people gasped, someone started recording. But Iba didn't care. "I made it out," he said, standing again. "But I should have pulled you with me." Shuhei tried to speak, but the lump in his throat choked him. He looked away. "I didn't want to be your burden." Iba pulled him into a fierce hug, both of them soaked to the bone. "You were never my burden," he whispered. "You were my anchor." Long before the world screamed Iba's name, back when he was just a lanky kid with messy hair and scraped knees, Shuhei was already legendary, at least in their neighborhood. He could land a tail whip in an alley narrower than a doorway. His BMX was old but spotless. And he had this laugh, rough, rebellious, free. One summer afternoon, young Iba fell hard trying to copy a stunt. Blood pooled on his shin. He wanted to cry. But Shuhei squatted next to him, grinned, and said, "You're not really riding until you've bled for it. That's how you earn your scars." And then he handed Iba a bandana to wrap his knee. That bandana. Iba still had it, folded in the back pocket of his jeans, even now. Back at the villa, the storm finally quieted. Shuhei sat on a balcony bench, wrapped in a warm towel, staring into the misty garden. Iba brought out 2 mugs of hot ginger tea. "You built all this alone?" Shuhei asked, eyes scanning the place. Iba nodded. "Every wall here is for peace. My escape from everything. And yet you let me in." "You weren't a guest," Iba said gently. "You're part of the foundation." They both laughed softly. Then Shuhei's face fell. "I've slept in places where rats crawled over my legs, Iba. I begged strangers for food. I thought of ending it, more times than I can count." Iba's eyes darkened with a protective fire. He leaned in. "If I'd known, I would have flown to you. I would have carried you out of that hell myself. But you were living your dream." "No," Iba said firmly. Our asterisk dream. You lit the fire. I just kept running with it." Later that night, as the rain faded to a whisper, Iba disappeared into a room at the back of the villa. When he returned, he was holding an old metal box, rusted, dented, locked tight. "Recognize this?" he asked with a sly smile. Shuhei blinked. "No way. That's the old bet box." Back in their teens, they used that box to store bets, written dares, dreams, or secrets. They'd each add notes every summer and promise to open it the day they made it. With a twist of the key, Iba opened it. Inside, dozens of faded paper slips spilled out. One read, Asterisk, I'll be a dance star on TV. Asterisk. Another, asterisk, we'll travel the world together, doing stunts and eating ramen. Asterisk. And one, written in Shuheyo's handwriting, said, asterisk, if I ever fall, I hope you'll remember me. Asterisk. Tears brimmed in his eyes. You remembered, he said. I never forgot. By sunrise, the air smelled of wet bamboo and second chances. Yibo was already dressed, not in his usual designer gear, but in a simple black hoodie and jeans. Shuheyo stood beside him in fresh clothes, hair trimmed, face freshly shaved. They stood in front of a modest building downtown, a local youth center. What is this place? Shuheyo asked. Yibo handed him a set of keys. Yours. Shuheyo froze. I partnered with a foundation that helped me as a kid. This place is being reopened as a community BMX and dance studio, for kids like us, the ones who fall between the cracks. And I want you to run it. Shuheyo's jaw dropped. Me? But You never stopped being that guy who pulled people up. You just need your own handlebars now. As they stepped into the building, sunlight poured through the windows, hitting the dusty wooden floors. Yibo watched Shuheyo take it all in, the open space, the gear, the framed photo of them as kids already hung on the wall. Then Shuheyo turned, voice shaking. I don't know how to thank you. You already did, Yibo said, smiling. By surviving. As Yibo turned to leave, Shuheyo called after him. Hey, you forgot something. Yibo turned, eyebrows raised. Shuheyo held out the old bandana, washed, clean, folded. Yibo smiled, took it, and tucked it into his pocket. No, he said. That belongs right here. And with a quiet nod, he tied it around the door handle of the youth center, a mark of memory, brotherhood, and a bond that no spotlight could ever outshine. Stay tuned to Veil of K-Drama for updates, exclusive breakdowns, and emotional reactions as the story unfolds. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, because this miracle might just be real.